Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. My name is Jacob Elyachar. I am the chief content producer and writer of JakesTake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, if you're listening to this on audio, please give us a 5-star rating. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please hit the subscribe button below. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited because I'm talking to this guest from all the way from England. They are recording artists. You can see them on RuPaul's Drag Race season 4, and they appeared on everything from Amazon for global luxury brands, from Amazon, British Airways, Eurostar, ITV, Unilever, and Virgin. So please welcome the fabulous Phil to the podcast.
Hello, how are y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to get stuck in.
All right, Phil, it's an honor to talk with you today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love pop culture, I often say that I'm a pop sculptor as an artist of pop culture and making it and weaving it and all that. So very excited to be on here.
I've seen some of your behind the scenes music videos, and you are a fabulous artiste.
Oh, thank you so much. I went to art college and I think there's a lot of stuff that I like to bring all together. And Le Fil, my name, means the thread in French. And that's the thread that weaves together all these disciplines and all these ideas and genres and stuff. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So let's get started. So when did you get interested in performing, and how did that passion evolve into desire to enter the fantastic world of drag?
I was always performing as a kid. I was always creative, making music, singing. I was always in school choirs. And so I think my love of performing started from an early age. But whether or not my parents wanted me to do that was a completely different story. But luckily, I carried on and pursued it in defiance of my parents. And I think music and pop music was the thing that led me into drag, really. I joined this collective called Sync the Pink in London, which hosts lots of LGBTQ pop parties, and I've toured with Mel C, the Spice Girl, and we've made videos for Pink. We've done all this sort of stuff within queer culture and pop music, and somehow that just married into the world of drag, and just it developed my aesthetic, it developed my ideas, and somehow I just landed onto Drag Race. But I think, for me, I've always been expressing femininity and androgyny. It's never been something about dressing like a man or like a woman. I always love androgyny, and I think that just naturally evolves into drag. So I never went into clubs going, oh, I want to be a drag queen, but it just sort of evolved that way.
I gotta say, I highly respect you for what and Sleep the Peak to create these incredible legendary club parties, especially for the LGBT plus Q community. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You guys do incredible work.
It's really fab because in London as well, it was about creating a space of pop music where it wasn't a guilty pleasure. I hate that term. If it's a pleasure, it's not guilty, just enjoy it. And I think we always really embrace music, and that's something which I've always loved as a kid. Like learning English to Kylie Minogue's "I Should Be So Lucky." It's always been in my DNA, like pop music. So for me, drag was always about becoming like an on-stage persona or something like Lady Gaga and Stephanie, that type of idea. It wasn't about just impersonating a woman or a different gender. It was about being like a superhero, being like the most glam, expressive version of yourself on stage. So that's what drag is for me anyway.
And you inspire a lot of incredible people, a lot of fans around the world.
It's lovely. I have really enjoyed over this last year hearing everyone's stories and seeing everyone's messages and comments, and it's wonderful. And I think as a queer Chinese kid from Yorkshire, you never really think that your experiences can be actually so universal with so many people across the world until there's a little spotlight that shines on them, and then you realize actually there's so many people that have these shared experiences. And thankfully for the internet and for things like this, we get to hear about each other's stories and share it, and we realize that we're not just that small kid in a small town feeling alone, but we've actually got a community that we can all feed off from.
Absolutely, 100%. And I got to say, my first Kylie Minogue song is it can't get you out of my head. Witching 2000s, but however, she's fabulous. And I gotta say, you mentioned RuPaul. So some of my international listeners are familiar with your appearances on RuPaul Drag Race UK season 4. So first of all, how did you get on the show? And what were some of the lessons that you learned from your time on the show that helped you prepare for the next chapter of your career?
How do we get on the show? Oh, well, you have to do this very long audition tape, and it's basically like a whole episode of the show just condensed into about 10 minutes. So it takes about a good couple of days to a week to film it. And I've only ever really auditioned for season 3 and season 4. And each time I did it, it's because I split up with someone and I needed a distraction. And I was like, I'm going to spend a week on this just to distract me from whoever it is I've just kicked out the door. And luckily they loved the audition tape, and then so I got on, and the rest is history. What is really fascinating for me is being an androgynous person and going on the show, and especially like my pronouns are still he, him, they when I'm on the show in glam, and because I was never just solely about being impersonating a woman. I think it was quite refreshing as a casting choice, like to go on that program. So I think like lessons from that show is like always stick true to your message and be the honest version of you, especially when you're on that show. There's so many versions that people like think they should be, whether or not they should be the shady one or like the bitchy one or and there's caricatures that people play up to. But I think for me, it was always about just being true to myself and being the most authentic version of me and letting people see that. But it was the most toughest experience. It's very long days. So if anyone can get onto Drag Race, applaud them, because there's always like a month ahead of that as well, where you're literally working on your looks, your ideas and everything. So by the time you've just done a whole month of prep and then you land on the show, that's another 20-hour day coming your way. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's very enjoyable.
And I gotta say, have you thought about like competing on other seasons? Because I know there's an international all-star slam where we actually had people from the UK and Canada compete. So have you thought about going in, popping by to say hello to Canada, or maybe even say hello to Rue over in the US?
Do you know what? If I was going to do another season, it would definitely be a US or a Canada one. I love the fact that they have prizes and cash money prizes on top of that. So yeah, I think it would be something it's like a family reunion. So it's always nice to go to family reunion.
And that's incredible, especially. But do you think that like Miss Rue and Michelle would have a little more higher expectation from you because saw you before?
I think so. I think whenever you go back, there's always a higher expectation. And I think for me, from the first season, I think that was a really nice introduction. I felt like there wasn't very much sort of investment in my story as yet. So I think that there could be more possibilities for other seasons. And there's so much I want to say and so much I want to do and express myself on the runway. And I think there'd be a lot more to show.
Well, I feel I got to reveal something to you. You are my very first guest from the RuPaul's Drag Race ever on my platforms.
Woo! Do you know what?
So you're making history.
I love that. Well, I'm very pleased to be making history. I even like over the last year, there's been so many moments which have been so wonderful. Like I did my first Irish tour around December, as soon as the season came out. And I was the first RuPaul's Drag Queen to go to all the places like Limerick and Cork and everything. And I was like, this is wild. So I've been very lucky to be able to tour and to be able to gig and go to places that I've never been to. And yeah, it's been wonderful.
Awesome, awesome. So you mentioned Melanie C earlier, but you also had the opportunity to work with Jake Shears, Jessie Ware, Pink, and years were various stage shows and music videos. So what were some of those experiences like?
Oh, they're wonderful. I think every time when you work with a new artist, it's always really scary because it's someone who you've idolized for years. I mean, even with Mel, the first show that we did was in Brazil, and it was straight after the Spice Girls reunion tour, and we joined her riding on cloud nine after all those stadium shows. And I remember going for breakfast in the morning before the show, and then I was like, I need to go to the gym just to warm up and everything. And I was doing my sit-ups, and then all of a sudden I saw Mel just on the cycling machine next to me, and I was like, wow, this is such a weird sight for me, like having a Spice Girl like cycling next to me whilst I'm being really sweaty and ugly. And I was like thinking, this is my childhood self, like their dream come to life, like being in this spice bubble with them. And so every time when we work with a new artist, it is so amazing because it's people that I've looked up to, people that have inspired me. And when we get to work with them, it's like creating art with them and being part of their bubble. And yeah, I love working with people. So that was amazing.
And not to mention, though, not a lot of people have had the opportunity to not only work with the Spice Girl, but also interact in a gym with them or like be in the same room vicinity working out.
I know, it's really funny, isn't it? I also get to play Posh Spice on the tour that we did with Mel. And obviously, Posh didn't join them for the Spice Girls tour. So I felt very privileged to be able to go along and do my finger point and and bring back Posh for everyone across the world.
Well, that's great because especially I gotta say it's very tough to fill the shoes of Victoria Beckham, but I feel that from the sound of your voice, you definitely did justice to her.
I did. Do you know, it was really funny. Mel at one point, I think we were in Amsterdam. I think so. And we're at a festival, and on stage, I said something, and she was like, "Oh my God, you did it just like Posh. This is so scary." And so I was like, "That's high praise. That's really good."
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what have been some of the challenges that you faced breaking into the international entertainment industry, and how have you overcome those obstacles?
Do you know what? When I was a younger singer up in Huddersfield, I it was always often me being gay or me being Asian that really stopped me entering the industry. I think there was a lot of um, encouragement towards artists who are white or who are cis as well. So I think with a double whammy like me, it was really hard to get into the industry. So I think the working way around it was I always focused on creativity and just expression and didn't really think about those other structures in terms that were in place. I just wanted to create art. And I think the longer that you do it, the more that you express yourself. Like people just navigate towards it. I think there's a magnetism to it that allows whatever you've been expressing to be heard eventually. So I think as long as you stick to your guns and carry on making, there's always going to be an avenue for you to create with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad you stick to your guns because the thing is, no one's going to have your, in the end of the day, it's just you and you only.
Right. And everything that happens in the world is like chain reactions from what you put out. So I think if you have good intentions and if you are active in the world, then things can only ripple out and respond from you.
Awesome. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about your music, shall we? So let's start off with some of your songs and the stories behind them. So I was just listening to "This Is My Culture," which has, as of this recording, over 2,000 YouTube views on YouTube. So what is that song about?
This Is My Culture was a song that I wrote during, I think, just after the Drag Race filming. And I think it was just in response to, I think if you feel like you're being marginalized in a way or there's always a family there, and I think that's what "This Is My Culture" is about, and the lyrics are like, "No matter if you try and tear me down, I've always got my family and my friends all around me to sort of bring me up." And I think that was in anticipation of whatever might be happening that might be negative, but you have lots of support around you to be able to, like, bring you up again. So, yeah, "This Is My Culture" was a really, definitely an emotional song to come out of Drag Race from.
And it's very, very empowering. Probably one of the most empowering songs I've heard in a while.
Thank you, thank you. I love it so much, and in the video are all my collaborators that basically I worked with across the whole year, so I wanted to honor them, like, all the people who have faith in my creativity. I just wanted to give them a party video as well that they can be in and be acknowledged.
And I gotta say, not a lot of artists do that. So good on you.
Thank you.
All right, so Boyo, as of this recording, 2,200 views on YouTube.
Love Boyo. Boyo is about challenging masculinity, the ideas of gender stereotypes, especially as a kid growing up in Brighouse in this very small town. The lyrics are literally like saying, like, you see all the boys like kicking the football around the backyard and thinking, should I be like that? Why am I not like that? But then you just have to stick to your guns and like go find a new road, find a new path to kick a ball down, find different avenues and break down those stereotypes so that you can live your best life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because believe me, I was not a fan of kicking any kind of balls anywhere. I rather be I'm a theater kid. And also did set from 5th grade to 12th grade, choir from 5th grade to 12th grade. So I admit I do not like doing any sort of except for working out right now. I did not do like any sports.
Yeah, no, I think as sporty as I went was like doing like fake runway walks down the pavement with my sister. That's as, and learning Spice Girl routines. That was my idea of cardio heaven.
Believe me, my cardio heaven is basically doing like speed walking and also doing some dancing as well. Like Ed Sheeran's song "Shivers" is absolutely my best go-to. Dance in my apartment with no one watching.
Okay, that
Love
better be a TikTok coming.
it. I definitely need to do that. However, TikTok is so addicting. I don't want to lose. I'm already go down an Instagram rabbit hole. I can't afford to do a TikTok rabbit hole.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see a reel of you dancing.
All right, one of these days, Lavelle, and I hope that you post it. If I do that, I will let you know, and you need to share it, and you need to save it.
I'll try and copy it.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's talk about put your money where your mouth is.
Ooh.
4,100 YouTube views as of this recording, and I gotta say, dude, I definitely gotta say that was a spicy one.
Yeah, I love Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is. It reminds me of Stop from Spice Girls as well in terms of the beat, but like, God, I sound like such a Spice man. I am. Yeah, Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is was about a cheating ex, and it was about the ones that are always like, oh yeah, I'm here for you, I love you, but then cheating behind your back, and I'm like, if you really did love me, then put your money where your mouth is. So yeah, it was a real. I love that song, and I made the video during the lockdown of pandemic, and I did it all from my kitchen with a green screen that I bought from Amazon and my phone. And because we had so many months to not do anything, we couldn't leave the house, I basically played every character and shot it over about 3 weeks, I think. And worked with a friend to comp everything together. I made the graphics and Photoshop as well. Like there was so many different things and elements, and it really was a labor of love over lockdown, and it was the outlet that I needed during that time to make something. So, yeah, I put my money where my mouth is and made creativity happen, no matter what.
I gotta say, that's amazing that that video was shot during COVID lockdown because the thing is with me, I spent my time reading my comic, put my comics. I spent time like recording podcasts, but you actually were so pretty much more. That puts my lockdown to shame because that's just
No,
amazing.
you got to do what you want to do, right? That's what keeps you happy. But yeah, for me, was being in my kitchen and setting up a green screen every day.
And I gotta say that definitely showcases your creativity because you went above and beyond for that music video.
Yay!
So let's talk about your current song, Splash Zone. Can you describe the creation process to my audience from inception to its music video release?
Woo! I love Splash Zone. So during Drag Race, there was a water-themed runway that I did, and I did I think when it was shown on TV, I was like, oh, I really wanted to make a watery-based song, and I had this idea of a splash zone in my head, and I spoke to my producer, and I was like, can we do something with the title Splash Zone? I want ideas of getting wet and everything and lots of fun dance energy. So my producer Lost Child wrote this music track, and I basically wrote a top line, the melody and lyrics all around it. And it really is a story of diving in for what you want, diving in for the things that enjoy you, excite you, and not being scared and not sitting on the sideline where you're going to get wet in the splash zone anyways. You might as well just dive in. So that was the story behind it. So yeah, it's about going for what you want. But yeah.
And how long was that did it take you to create that music video? Because that looks like it took a while.
Well, the music video was fun. We did like most of it on holiday. Like, so I went on a holiday earlier this year, straight after the Drag Race tour. It's my first holiday in years, and we went to beach holiday to get loads of sun. But at the same time, I was like, I feel guilty just going to enjoy myself, so I'm gonna try and make a music video at the same time. So the video took a while, but actually, I think we started writing the track in about May, February, properly. I had the idea for it back in October, but I started writing it in March, and then ended up putting it all together, the video together across May and June, and voila, here we are now, out for you guys.
That's incredible. That is so incredible. And that's the thing. It's like I haven't been. I'm actually going on a holiday pretty soon to Disneyland. So this is the first time I'm taking a vacation every year. I always promise myself one vacation a year.
That's it. I think we've got to create time for ourselves, don't we? Just to make sure we enjoy ourselves. But I think even for me, like I do love creating, so I don't really think of it as a job. So even when I'm on holiday, making work, making music is fun because it's the things that I like to do. And actually, do you know what? When I was just thinking back, when we were doing the Mel C tour, is when I wrote Boyo and Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, all those songs, because I was away in these spaces and it just really invigorated my expression. So yeah, getting away can really help with your creativity.
Absolutely can. Absolutely you can. So, who are some of your dream collaborators? They can be singers, they can be songwriters, they can be producers, they can be musicians, and even choreographers. And how can it help you advance your sound?
Oh, do you know what? I would love to meet Gaga, Madonna, Beyonce. Beyonce's tour looks insane. I want to meet all her creative directors who worked on the tech, who organizes all the costumes. To have a new set of costumes for each show is wild. Interesting fact: our Drag Race tour, we were on a tour bus, and the driver was saying that our bus was going to be used for all the Beyonce dancers after we finished with it. So we were like, oh, we should leave some notes under the pillows and stuff for them. So I love production. I love direction and creativity. So anyone who works across those tours, holler at me. Let's work together. All I love so much, like the lighting designers, set designers, everything. So all of Beyonce's team.
I gotta agree. I think Queen Bee's team would be happy to work with you. And I definitely say that was so cool that they got to reveal that her dancers were going to be using your bus. So I gotta say you should have left some notes. And I think and some of your co-hosts would do that. I just hope that the bus driver was kind enough to keep them on.
I know, that would have been cute. Oh my God, I just remembered. Do you know, at one time I have met Beyonce. I dressed her, and she was in London, and I was working in a shop at a time, and she came in and she was like, "Can I try these?" And I was like, "Sure." And I popped on a jacket on her. But I remember like staring at her because she looked so gorge, and I was just like, I have to say something because I looked like such a weirdo just staring at her. And so I was like, "You've got really nice leggings." That was the only thing I could think of to say. And she just basically touched my shoulder. Was like, "You're so cute," and I was like, I died. I never washed my
Oh,
shoulder since. That's why I keep it out.
believe me, I have had some celebrity moments myself, so I have a story that you're not going to believe. So I was working on the many moons ago when X Factor USA was still around and came to Kansas City. I was working as PA, and I was watching two makeup artists, and I was looking in the room, and I stared eye contact with Brittany.
Oh my gosh, I love,
I could
love.
only do like this. And then dash because I didn't want to get fired.
I know, that's it. You don't want to overstep your boundaries, but eye contact. Wow, that's great. I love that.
Yeah,
The moment
because
to treasure.
oh yeah, absolutely. And then another moment to treasure is I got starstruck by Simon Cowell because I was attending one of the auditions for 2016, and I shook his hand and said, "It's so honored to meet you," and he basically chuckled and grinned.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can imagine he chuckled at you.
Oh yeah,
I
because
think
the thing is,
he's
I
such a
have it.
pro.
It's such a hard time when you are a huge, massive fanboy of these fan people of these celebrities, and you have your opportunity like that. I'm like, I applaud you for holding your own on Beyonce.
Thank you, thank you. But yeah, let's get her creative team together and let's make a LaFille experience happen too.
Absolutely. So we are going to start. We got to start right now, conversation. So what are your favorite social media platforms
Oh,
to
I do
connect
know
with your
what
fans?
I post on Instagram quite a lot. So yeah, follow me on Instagram. Actually, on all the socials, Twitter, Threads, everything at I am LaFille.
Perfect. Because the thing is, I am on Threads as well, and X is the worst rebranding I've ever heard for Twitter.
It access the what did you just say? Sorry, my signal
The
broke.
worst. The worst.
Okay, yeah. I feel like well, I don't say anything against Twitter because I think Elon Musk is like having like a personal like attack on anyone who downvotes Twitter. But it does
Oh
like
yeah.
the big X does look like a big porn site though now, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it, my friend. Tell me about it. So if you had the opportunity to meet with performers who are like, "Hey, LaPhil, I want to enter RuPaul's Drag Race. I want to compete." What advice would you share with them?
Stay true to yourself and don't create things that you think emulate someone else's success or emulates someone else's lane because at the end of the day it's all about you, your individuality, your expression that makes your stories and your outfits and everything personal to you, and that's what we want to see. It's some individuality.
All righty. Final question. Are you ready?
Yes.
All righty. LaPhil, where can they find your music? And can you remind them where they can connect with you on social media?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Spotify, all the digital platforms. Just type in LaFille. That's LE space FIL. And you can also find me on www.lafille.co.uk and all my socials at I am LaFille.
Awesome. So, guys, if you miss an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. It's Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Once again, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And guys, this month, August 2023, marks my 12th anniversary of Jake's Take. So
Yay!
It is wonderful. So if you miss anything that's going on with America's Got Talent, if you want my music reviews, if you want to find out what happened last season of Masked Singer, visit jakes-shake.com. Once again, jakes-shake.com. LaPhil, it was an honor to talk with you today, and you are awesome. And thank you so much for taking time on your schedule. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much, Jake. I've had a wonderful time. Now you go do your thing.
All righty, I'll do. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.